You are tuned in to another edition of Americana Music Profiles, brought to you by Americana Rhythm Music Magazine and AmericanaMusicMagazine.com. I'm your host, Greg Tutwiler. Let's jump right in to the next exciting interview. Sam Karr, founder of the SamJam Bluegrass Festival, turned a lifetime of enjoying bluegrass and his nephew's birthday party into one of the premier bluegrass festivals of today. In this episode of Americana Music Profiles, we talk to Sam about that journey and what's on tap for this year's festival, scheduled for Labor Day weekend. Hi, Sam. Welcome to the podcast this afternoon. Good to talk to you.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad
Absolutely.
to be here.
Yeah. Well, this is neat. We talk with a lot of artists here on the Profiles podcast, and occasionally we get to do some different things and talk to some different folks. And you are the mastermind behind something called SamJam, which is a festival and bluegrass festival. And so we're going to talk about that today. And you and I had been talking off air kind of about the beginnings of that, and like all events, they typically don't just start out of the gate with this grand thing. So give me a little bit of the history of how this whole thing got started for you guys.
Yeah, I will. I've been a fan of bluegrass and folk and country music forever. I grew up going to festivals with my father and his friends, and all my friends growing up in music. So I knew I grew up with some of the bands that I liked throughout the years, and of course listened to their records and cassettes like I used to now. Those don't exist anymore, but
right.
That's what I started out with. But in 2004, my nephew, which I'm really close to, was turning 21. So I lived out where I had 3 or 4 acres. So I said, you know what, I took him to IBMA.
Oh, cool.
Which is a music awards. He'd never been around bluegrass. He fell in love with us. I said, I'm going to get you a bluegrass band in my backyard. We'll have a big blowout for your 21st birthday.
That's cool.
That's basically, in a nutshell, how SamJam started it.
Huh.
We got Mark Newton Band from Nashville. I don't know if you've heard of him.
Oh, sure, yeah.
He's been kind of a legend in bluegrass, and he's done some country, so we was really close to him. I'd met him through the years, and he came up to my backyard in Marshall, Indiana, and we had about 30 people there, and we threw it down. And so we had so much fun, people the next year said, hey, you're going to do that again, and it just grew. So we had it there in my backyard for about 4 to 5 years until my neighbors ran me out.
Yeah.
And because I had tents set up in the yard, I added bands, so we'd have 2 or 3 bands. And, I had some big bands come in for those 3 or 4 years. I had the Grascals, I had Russell Moore and Third Time Out. James King came in.
Wow.
Night Flyer. I mean, I had some. I wouldn't take a vacation. I would just get a big name band to come and play and invite all our friends in bluegrass, and people didn't know anything about bluegrass, and they came and just grew crazy. That's basically how it started.
So you had a staycation and threw a big party for everybody, all your neighbors and friends.
I lost money, but hey, I had a blast.
Yeah.
Some years of my life too.
Yeah. So at what point during all of that did it start to kind of dawn on you that maybe this was a little bit bigger than your backyard, and maybe it was kind of taking on a life of its own?
It did take. I moved it a couple places to Cincinnati. One of my best friends, Robbie Taylor, is a main guy in Miller Lite in Cincinnati. So he said, hey, move it up here at a venue. Miller Lite will sponsor it, and we'll try to get this thing growing. So I did it there, and it was a huge success. But it was just a limited space again, and it was, we almost couldn't fit the people in there. So I was at Rudy Fest in Grayson, Kentucky, 2009, 2010, and Rick Green lives in Piketon, Ohio, approached me. I never knew Rick really that well. I'd seen him and knew about him, and we'd talked, but nothing about the festival. He approached me and said, would you be interested in coming up to Piketon and maybe getting SamJam rolling in a big kind of way, you know, a 2 or 3, 4-day festival, and kind of laugh and have a beer over it, and say, yeah, that sounds great. Let's have a festival, you know. I went up and looked at the fairgrounds, and man, it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
And that's how we started, and we started absolutely from ground zero. It's like, how are we going to do this, and
right.
When are we going to have it? Labor Day is scary because if we don't put on a good festival, no one will come.
Yeah.
I mean, you go through all that stuff, so that's basically how we started and jumped right in on it.
Originally, you told me a couple of minutes ago all the big bands that you had starting out. What was the connection for you with those folks? You know, it's to just kind of start blindly. It's hard to find out the connections and how to get a hold of these different guys and their agents and you know the schedules and getting them. How did you begin that process of learning who these artists were and how to figure out if they were available and if you could bring them in or not? Well,
that's where the Ragheads come in. Ragheads is a group of people like me. You know, we can go on our website and read the history, but basically, without going into too much of it, when we was 8, 9, 10 years old, me and my buddy got lost at a bluegrass festival.
Mm-hmm.
My parents made us wear a white towel around our head so we wouldn't
so they could find you.
And we got tired. It was hot and sweaty, so we cut them in strips, tied it around our head, and one thing led to another. Then all my friends started wearing them. Then the adults started wearing them, and this thing grew into what now is just unbelievable following of bluegrass fans called the Ragheads. And they're at the festivals, and we meet, and so all the bands started noticing us every year, and you know, they started saying, hey, we want to be a Raghead, so we'd go up on stage and tie something around their head, and they play with them. I mean,
really?
It grew of a life of its own.
Yeah.
So I met Russell Moore like that, you know, Lonesome River Band, Sammy, and all of them. They're all Ragheads. You know, we made Larry Sparks a Raghead last year. And it's cool. Kind of, that's how you get to know them. So I was really fortunate.
Yeah.
Not only did I go to a lot of festivals, the Raghead thing kind of took off, and and the bands loved that group because they're just some of the best fans.
Yeah. And
they give to the artists, and they're loud and they cheer, and the bands love it. So
yeah.
I've met a lot of people that way through bluegrass, and when I decided to do something, I just called them and said, hey, this is Sammy from the Ragheads, and I'm doing a party. Would you come in and do it? And that's how we did it. I was really fortunate at first not to go through too many agents, just go straight to the source.
Yeah.
And that really, really helped me get it off the ground.
Sure. Yeah, I would imagine so.
Our first year, you know, we had every band in bluegrass that was, I mean, our lineup is crazy good because we thought we better put on a damn good one, or people do other things at Labor Day. They're not going to come to here.
Sure, yeah.
You know, just anything. So we jumped in. These bands that I knew really worked with us to get this off the ground, and really that's where we're at.
Huh, that's neat. So has it always been Labor Day weekend?
The original ones weren't. They were around July 4th, June, anywhere from June 25th to July 4th, because that's when my nephew's birthday party was. But when we decided to go, you know, bigger, this big one, we really struggled with when to have it, and Rick and I decided, you know, let's just do Labor Day weekend. There's nothing around here like that, festival-wise, and we got a great location, and let's just go for it. And if we go bankrupt, we'll just go bankrupt. We'll have fun doing it.
So you had told me earlier that if I've got this correct, that you actually left your full-time job as a coach, an athletic coach, to focus on this. Is that right?
I did. I coached for 22 years, high school basketball, really every level of basketball. But I grew up a basketball player. My dad coached in Kentucky for 32 years, so that's what I did.
Uh-huh.
And when I started this, I realized my summers, it wasn't going to be basketball anymore. It's going to be bluegrass festivals, promoting, and getting out there and running, trying to promote this festival. And that's when I stepped away from coaching.
Okay. So this, in effect, has become your full-time job.
This is right at it. I actually teach school now, but I work a hell of a lot more on this festival than I do teaching.
Yeah. So you're still in the educational system with your quote day job, then, is that correct?
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
Okay.
I'm still teaching high school health and phys ed. It works out really good because I'm off all summer.
Sure. Yeah.
And now that I'm not coaching, I'm off. During Christmas, which we run small shows like SamJam Bluegrass. We do that throughout the year, and then the summers I'm off and I go promote the festival. It works out really well.
So your smaller events, where are you conducting those? Are they house concert style or a little bit bigger than that?
We do a lot with our sponsors. Like this coming weekend, May 19th, we got a SamJam preview. Now this is for American Legion in Waverly, which is right there where the festival is, right close. And they come in as a sponsor, and in turn, we run a SamJam preview show, which includes 3 bands from our festival.
Okay. And
at their place, and they get profits from beer sales and the gate. So it's kind of we do that for the Moose, the American Legion, and then we do some other stuff. Like we ran a show in Cleveland, Ohio, a couple of years ago with the Steel Drivers, and just rented a venue and tried to get, we just try to get the SamJam name out there in different parts of Ohio and surrounding areas, basically. So the one day events are usually in the winter, early spring, and we really just try to promote our big festival through that.
What are some of the acts that you've got scheduled for this year?
Oh, the big festival. I think I say this every year. This is our 3rd year. I think this is the best. That's the one we've had.
Yeah.
And we've had some good ones. Kicking off the Thursday, we have a fan appreciation on Wednesday night. We bring in a blues band from Chillicothe and Tim Strong, another band out of Cincinnati, and just have a little welcome to the SamJam thing for people who's there, stay there. So we have Creek Don't Rise as a blues band, Tim Strong, Kentucky Ridge. That's on Wednesday. That's just a free thing we do. Kicking off the festival on Thursday is Clay Bank.
Oh, neat. Okay.
Clay Bank is just killing it right now.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I don't know if there's going to be another band out there killing it to open a festival or not. But that's our Dave Atkins band's that day, the Four Ramblin' Boys, Flat Lonesome, and Sideline. I mean, that's our Thursday.
Wow, that's cool.
And I'm so pumped about that. Then we go to Friday and we have Newtown out of Lexington, Kentucky, Volume 5, which has raked up awards this year. Daly and Vincent, the Seldom Scene.
Wow.
And we're bringing in Adam Wakefield. That was I don't know if you've heard of him on the bluegrass scene much, but Adam was a finalist in The Voice.
Sure, yeah.
2 or 3 years ago, and he's got a band called the Copperheads that a lot of Steel Driver-like songs and so forth, but he writes all his stuff, so we're really excited about that.
Didn't he fill in with the Steel Drivers for a little bit?
He did.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay.
He did. He sung lead with them for 2 or 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
And basically, I think he decided he wanted to do his own thing because he's